Hey guys, Feuerrm here, and today I'm going to be testing the Porsche 911 GTS Coupe in multiplayer in Asphalt 9. I made one video about this car before at 2 stars, but since I have 3 starred it now, and it has been for quite a long time, it is quite overdue for a video, and especially since currently there are events to get parts for this car, like body parts and stuff, I figured it would be a great time to do it. And we have a good season for it as well. So this is a slipstream season, which is something that we have not seen in a while, and I'm very glad that it has come back. Because while a lot of people might not like slipstream, I've always been a pretty big fan of it if they don't overuse it. And I must say, it's been quite refreshing to see it back. It makes the multiplayer season feel a little bit different. And here this 4GT comes up next to me with Shockwave and knocks me down. So now my goal is to catch up to it and pass it another 4GT and a couple of exotic rides as well. Yeah, in this video I'm going to be facing a lot of cars that are, I would consider to be quite a bit better than this car, such as those two I just mentioned. Also, some J50s, Aston Martin Vulcans, which are going to be the two main cars in the upcoming races, and one or two SLRs as well. Now, sometime in this video, there is a race that just completely astounded me when I was doing it. It's probably one of the most intense races I have played somewhat recently in multiplayer. When we get to that race and you see the ending of it, you'll understand what I mean. So we have caught up to and passed that 4GT, however, he is quite hot on my tail. Now, one thing you have to remember about the 4GT is that it has quite bad drifting, well, really quite bad everything except for its top speed, so it loses a lot of speed around these jungle turns, allowing me to go around, and even though I go a bit high on this barrel, I land with some nitro, go around the corner, and take the victory, with the other cars not even on the map. And that was with a wreck. So my goal with this car in this recording session was to get all the way up to Elite League, only using this Porsche 911 GTS, which is a rookie league car. So that is my goal throughout this video, and you will see a lot of my races on my journey there. The current race was one of my first ones in Pro League, and I was facing a W70 maxed and a maxed J50 and Vulcan as well. That J50 is 3100 rank, so a good 1000 rank above me. I'd say that 90% of my competition from now on in the video is either going to be a Max Vulcan or J50, and there are a lot of cars in a lot of the races, so you can bet there are going to be some pretty intense ones. But that is something that I really like about testing these lower cars in these seasons, and I'm very surprised I didn't wreck there, because I kind of did hit the edge and I've wrecked there before. But yeah, I like testing these lower cars because, as I've probably said on numerous occasions before, I like to show that it is the driver's skill and not just the car that can make or break a race. I mean, if you saw the Scalo video that I made that was with Sarjon's races, he was beating Bugatti Chiron's in the C-Class Scalo. I mean, really, you can see that through that it is not just the car, and you really have to be skilled, especially in these seasons here. Now, in that season, he was playing in a rush season. Now, this one here is just the unleashed one. So you have the normal up, down, not everybody goes up like in rush season sort of thing, like we used to have all the time. So seasons such as this one definitely do have a higher skill set of players overall in some of the higher leagues. And I think that will be shown in this video, because I would not be beating any A and S-Class cars in this 911 pretty much if they were in this season. Higher level ones anyway. I mean, I'm taking on some lower level A-Class cars such as the J50 and Aston Martin Vulcan, and by the way, the J50 is a better car overall, in case some people were wondering. I've actually managed to 3-star it up just by being in packs and buying a bunch of ones for different cars, because they do show up in those quite a lot. Now, something interesting that happened in the most recent update that probably not as many people have noticed as it would be useful for is that the Legends store, they've actually added more cars to it. Like, the J50 is in there now, and there's a bunch of other new ones as well. Now, they did raise prices on some older ones, but now you can buy blueprints for a lot of cars that you were not able to get before. So some that you were previously locked out of for whatever reason, you may now be able to get, assuming you have a decent amount of credits and tokens, because they're not cheap. Here we beat 4 4-star J50s, as well as 2 Max Vulcans and a Max W70. You see, this 911 is not as bad as some people might think it would be for being the starter B-Class car. Sure, it's technically the worst car in its class, but that's not saying it is bad at all. Something that a lot of people have sort of misconstrued for my best and worst cars in each class list is that the cars at the bottom of the classes are bad. That's not the case at all. Well, in D-Class it might be, and perhaps the very bottom of C-Class, but cars like the Vulcan and the 911 and low-end S-Class cars like the Centenario and FXX are perfectly fine cars. It's just within their class, the other cars are yet better. So you guys will be pleased to know that I have 2-starred the Zenvo at this point and made it purple. And that's exactly the amount of blueprints that I have for the car. Now that's 73. Apparently 78 blueprints is what you need in order to get packs for the car. I may have said this before, but I'm probably not going to try to start up more, because number one, getting those extra 5 blueprints would not be the easiest thing. I mean, I would just have to go up to 350 conditions rather than 300, but that leads me to my second reason. I really don't think I'd buy them even if I could, because I have seen the stats of the Max Pininfarina Battista. I can't share them yet, unfortunately, but I've seen them and I can say that the car looks pretty good. When it's maxed, one of its stats is extremely powerful. I'm sure you guys probably know if you saw my video about the update, and I want to save my tokens for that. Here, after a very close race, the Vulcan passes us at the last second, but we do still beat 4 4-star Ferrari J50s. In this race, we're against 2 J50s and 2 Aston Martins. I told you that was going to be most of the competition in this video. Those 2 cars can go approximately 10 miles per hour faster than me, give or take a couple miles per hour, but they generally have better stats overall as well. So my car really does not have any advantages in this case. Your advantages when you're driving an underdog car pretty much come solely from your driving, and that was a pretty cool flip there. We went off the opposite side of the barrel roll and barrel rolled the other way. That happened in Asphalt 8 all the time, but I found that in Asphalt 9, it doesn't seem to happen as much. Someone wrecked, so we're left with just this single Vulcan ahead of us, which we are actually catching up to quite a bit. Slipstream is very interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's different, which makes it interesting just because it's different, but also because you have to strategize a bit differently. It is to your advantage in a Slipstream season to not start out in first, unless you have a very fast accelerating car. But in most cars, it's actually best if you start 1 or 2 places back, because then you can ride the slipstream of the guy in first or second, get up to full nitro, and then shockwave past them. Whereas if you're in first, well, the people behind you will be able to shockwave, and you won't be able to, meaning that they'll be able to pass you. In the second to last race in the video, we have one of the closest finishes in my career in Asphalt 9. Literally. You'll see once I get to the end. So we're up against a couple of maxed Aston Martins and a maxed J50. At the beginning, I managed to get past all of them, but again, you have to keep in mind that this car is slower by 10 or so miles per hour than the rest of the cars in the race, and Mr. Mysterious is a very skilled driver from Pro Team. He is the car that is catching up behind us right now, and he is a Vulcan. And to make matters even worse, he is now able to ride my slipstream the whole way, meaning that he is able to stay at 222 miles per hour or whatever constantly, while I'm stuck at a lot of the time just going my top speed. So that makes the difference a lot more, like 20 miles per hour in some case. So here, around one of my least favorite turns in the entire game, I managed to continue to stay ahead. Not quite sure how, but then he passes me on the jump because of being able to get more nitro through my shockwave. This is just what happens a lot during these seasons, and I apologize if I've said shockwave instead of slipstream a lot. I realize now that I may have done that more than I intended to. You guys probably know what I mean. In these sorts of seasons, there is a lot of flip-flop that goes on. Someone gets ahead, then the person behind rides their slipstream, then gets ahead, and then the opposite happens. Here at the beginning here, I ride his slipstream, go up this barrel just above him, and cross the finish line in first place. Only beating him by 0 frames. Yeah, you saw that right. We got the same frame. That rarely happens in Asphalt 9. Well, it happened in Asphalt 8 a bit more often. It's really cool when it happens in 9. And now for, well, the best race of the video, in my opinion. We've got 3 maxed J50s, 3 maxed Aston Martin Vulcans, and a nearly 4,000 ranked Mercedes-Benz SLR against my little 2,100 ranked Porsche 911 GTS. Now, at the beginning of the race, it was going okay. I was in first and second and all that, but then I started getting a bit behind because this track actually has quite a few sections where cars with high top speed can do very well. Like through here, I'm now into 5 or 6 out of 8. and I'm just going a bit behind the pack. Thankfully, I'm very close to them so that I can continue using their slipstream to get up to Shockwave a lot, which is very helpful. But this is just crazy. There's so many people going every which way. This was just a very hectic race, and a good one in general. I am so glad that I managed to play in this one. Now it's time for my general review of the car. It is a great beginner B-class car, and as you can see in this video, can be used in multiplayer to do decently if you have managed to 3-star it. Here, he tries to 360 me, but thankfully I was in Shockwave, which, if you didn't know, serves as a basically impenetrable shield from pretty much all kinds of knockdowns. Now here, as we round the final bend, I'm solidly in 4 or 5 position, but then I Shockwave at the perfect time and come in second. Actually though, I come in first because he has very bad connection. That was an awesome race. Thank you all for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed and consider subscribing for more Asphalt, Forza, and Minecraft content. And I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.